think every convention since like 2000. And I've done everything from being convention secretary. I usually run the breakout sessions, so I understand what that procedure is, and so I've watched the rules evolve over the years. 2 years ago, we was the first time where we had an actual objective. We wanted to get the anti-LNG stuff in the platform, and we rounded up a collection of people from across the state, and they showed up, and we were successful. And so what we want to do is repeat our success from 2 years ago and expand what we're going after a little bit. So what we're trying to do is add progressive planks to the Democratic Party platform and the progressive legislative agenda items, which are called LAIs, that will be sent to the Oregon legislature. And the reason why we want to do that is that the Democrats control the legislative and executive branches of the Oregon government and are expected to abide by the platform of the Democratic Party. And we're going to do this by effective and strategic participation in the Oregon Platform Convention in the middle of March. And so all the details are now posted on the DPO website for the convention. So everything, including the agenda for the 3 days, and where you can pay your registration fee and all that stuff is available for you. And we have such a small group of people that if you have any questions at any time, just break in. So I'm also on the rules committee, and we just finished the rules for the convention last week. They are substantially similar to what has been done previously, so there were no big changes. What we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to add both legislative agenda items and planks for consideration on Sunday if they didn't make it through the sausage factory on Saturday. So this is directly out of the rules. The convention delegates may add to the list of legislative agenda items outside the method used in the subject committees by filing a petition with the convention office by 9 a.m. on Sunday, March 18th. And the rules around the petition are the same. They must be filled out on a form provided by the convention secretary, and they contain the language of the proposed item, and then they need to be accompanied by the signatures of at least 50 delegates and alternates from at least 5 counties. So the process for adding planks and legislative agenda items are the same. They do not release the form until 5 o'clock on Saturday. And if you're suspicious in nature, you might think that that would be intentional, because it's very difficult to collect 50 signatures when everyone has left the convention. But last time we were able to get all 50 signatures within 1 hour and had them submitted at 9 a.m. the next morning. And so this is the language around the planks. And for some reason, the language is slightly different. There's additional language that says the chair may call on the credentials committee to validate the status of the persons signing their names in support of bringing the items to the floor, and may defer action until the signatures have been validated. So there's some things that we have to watch for and make sure that that they don't accidentally run out of time. And we'll just have to make sure that the 50 signatures we get are people who are registered delegates to the convention. And so for the plank, the sponsor of the amendment shall be allowed 1 minute to explain the intent of the plank when they bring that up for consideration. Is it pretty clear on what we need to do if our stuff doesn't make it through the sausage factory on Saturday?
That we need to go get 50 signatures to add those planks to the. I want to make sure first that I understand what we're saying. So what we talked about at the last meeting, which were the planks we wanted to add, those are just things that we've submitted, and if it doesn't get through on Saturday, we try to get it through on Sunday, but in order to do that, we have to get the 50 signatures from at least 5 counties. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's an excellent summary, Tiffany.
Okay, perfect. And we do that by running around and just trying to find all the delegates. So could we?
Well, what we're going to do, and I'll go through how we're going to organize ourselves to make this as painless as possible.
Okay.
So what I need to do is move this slide up earlier so it makes more sense logically. So the process of the convention is that it's spread over 2.5 days. The first part is Friday night, and that's where the convention adopts the convention rules and elect the convention officers. And we don't know who the officers are going to be. I think it's probably too much to organize electing our own set of officers. And frankly, they've designed this show, and I think they need to take responsibility for it. I wouldn't want to take over running a convention that's been put together like this one. So they got to own it. On Saturday, delegates can attend up to 2 breakout sessions. There should be a breakout session for each of the 11 articles, which are subject areas. And when you pay your registration fee, you can indicate when you sign up which ones that you want to attend. And what they should do is accommodate everyone's requests until they filled up any of the articles, any of the breakout sessions. And then if there's too many people requesting attendance, then they will reassign them to a different breakout session. The downside is that because there's only 2 breakout sessions, there's only 2 sessions, and 6 of them will have to be at one, and 5 will have to be at the other. And if it was your intention to attend 2 that have been scheduled at the same time, you won't be able to attend the 2 of them. So you'll have to pick your top 2 favorite, your top favorite from the morning group, and then your top favorite from the afternoon group.
Is there a strategy to? Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, is there a strategy to which ones we should be going to? I mean, if there's so many of us going, should we have so many of us in one session and the other, or does it matter?
Well, for the people who are there for specific causes like LNG, then it makes sense to sign up for the environment and the environment breakout group and the jobs and economy breakout group. And if you're going to support the national popular vote, it'd be important to sign up for the governance breakout group.
Okay.
But yeah, we're for all of the people who are going in support of the no LNG stuff, we're asking them to sign up for those 2 committees, and then we should have good representation inside the group.
Okay.
So the sessions will probably last around 2 hours, and they're kind of grueling. What they should do is take all of the legislative agenda items that have been submitted over the past couple of months, and where there's similar ones, they should lump them together so that you don't have multiple ones that are stating the same thing. And they should print them out so that they're legible and hung on the wall. And then what has happened in the past, excuse me, and what the rules specify is that each one is considered by the group, and if there's language changes that need to be made, they're made inside the group, and then they are approved to go forward. And then for the last half an hour of the breakout session, everyone is given dots, and they place their dots on the legislative agenda items they most favor. And so our goal is to make sure that our legislative agenda items get lots of dots. And our people have to watch out for the clock, because generally unless the facilitator does really good time management, they're going to find themselves running out of time for voting. And that's actually the most critical piece if we get our stuff up on the wall. So that's another area where we really have to watch the process to make sure that we get our stuff voted on. And then what they do is they take the top grouping of LAIs, and I believe it's something on the order of 12 from each of the 11 article breakout sessions. And as you can see, there's going to be a lot of them. Then they will make up a online form that will be voted on after the convention adjourns. So the week after, all the delegates will receive a ballot, and we will want people to vote on a specific subset of them, so that the votes are placed on the ones we want to be successful. Any questions?
I have one quick question. So in those breakout sessions then, where we basically kind of like submit what we think should be an LAI and get the dots and stuff, like, do we speak out would we as delegates get to speak out in favor of those things and try to argue for them to be included?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Especially the LNG stuff, because that's probably going to be the most contentious again, and there might be people showing up in the Environment Caucus and the Jobs Caucus arguing that LNG provides jobs because they've drunk the Kool-Aid on that. And so we need people to speak the truth, that these are just temporary jobs and they're really not all that many. And there's certainly no good long-term paying jobs once the facilities are built. So yes, those arguments need to be made. So on Sunday, all of the planks and LAIs are ratified in one big session. There were around 300 people 2 years ago. We think this year the total is going to be more in the around 500. So it's going to be a very large gathering on Sunday. And again, we're going to have to watch the chair of the convention very closely to make sure that they follow the rules and don't deep six any of the things that we want. So as I said, after the convention, a ballot will be submitted, and then the top 12 LAIs will be published as the official list from the Democratic Party of Oregon. And the reason why they did that is that about a decade ago, we would take a list of 150 items to the legislature, and they would look at it and go, well, what do you want us to do with this? Because they were just over everything and not very focused. And so that's why they have this process of boiling them down to the top 12, because a 12 is much more manageable, and we can find legislators to sponsor these and turn them into legislation. So we're asking everyone to install the app Signal on their mobile device, and that's what we will use for mass notifications. So just like the convention floor from the 2016 Democratic National Convention, we will be all linked up in Signal, and so when something comes up and it's not clear what needs to happen, we will send out a message to everyone that we're aligned with on how to vote on stuff. So if there's like a procedural thing to where someone makes a motion to do something and it's not in our interest, then we'll send out a message saying vote no on this, or if it's something that we do want, vote yes on this. Does anyone have any questions about Signal?
Is there a way that when we, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Tiffany.
When we download it, is there, I mean, I'll look at the app tonight. I'll download it tonight and kind of mess around with it. But is there a way that, like, before things kind of start, can we play with it as a group to test it, to make sure that how it works and how it's supposed to work?
Absolutely.
Good.
Okay.
And I have everyone's phone number that they registered with, so hopefully they gave me the number of their mobile device, and I'll be able to add them. But it'll be a great way for one person to send a communication to 200 people. So I do need volunteers to fill out some roles. We'll need a primary and a backup person to do the mass communications. And ideally, we'll have one person in each of the breakout sessions. So at some point between now and the convention, they will release the assignments of people to the breakout groups. And we'll try to identify representatives in each of the breakout groups so that someone can lead and take care of communication within the groups themselves. And then we'll need volunteers to take care of the submissions of the planks and LAIs if we end up following that process. So if for some reason our items do not get through the breakout sessions on Saturday, we will send out a message by Signal on where everyone should gather to sign these forms. And so we'll need a volunteer to just gather up the forms and take care of the procedural stuff to make sure that we have representation from 5 counties and that all the signatures are valid. So on Saturday night, there's a Democratic Party of Oregon sponsored event that I believe is $70 or $75. So if you do not want to go to that dinner, you can join the rest of us at Paddington's Pizza, which is at 410 Pine Street, and it'll be a great opportunity to get together and chat with everyone about what happened during the day and talk about what's going to happen the next day. And I'll be sending all this out before the convention starts.
Good.
Yes, Doug.
Earth to Larry, can you hear me?
Yes.
As I recall from 2 years ago, when we gathered, Deb Evans did such a wonderful job of gathering enough bodies to garner the 50 signatures, Nancy and I teamed up to form the line and to process the signatures and handle the paperwork. My suggestion would be that we need at least 2 people, ideally 3. A 4th would be fine, 5 would be too many, to just process 50 signatures through. It's more than one person can do.
Absolutely. And are you volunteering, Mr. Thompson?
I'm volunteering to be the cat herder on that process.
Awesome.
Larry,
Was it
this
another
is
question? Yeah.
Larry.
Yes.
This is Jan, and things are complicated enough for me right now, but I'm not certain that I'll be there. But if I am there, I will step in to help in any way I'm needed. And I will know by probably the beginning of March.
Okay. And
Okay.
if for some reason you can't make it, our delegation chair is Doug Thompson, and he will take care of making sure an alternate, one of our three alternates will attend and take your place.
Good. Okay. Well, I'll know by then.
But it'd be great to have you there.
I'd like to be there.
So just so you're familiar with the language of the key ones that we are focusing on, the first two that I'll be going over were the ones that we passed 2 years ago that are anti-LNG, and we would like to keep them in the platform again this time. What's happened in the past 2 years is this has truly become a statewide movement. So it's not the uphill climb that we had previously. So the first one is in the planks. I guess I should make sure everyone understands the difference between a plank and an LAI. A plank is a belief, which is really what forms the core of a platform of a party, because it's an expression of your values. And so a legislative agenda item is an action that we want the legislature to take. And sometimes these are written so that they look like they're interchangeable, but in theory, that's the difference between the two types of entries. So as a plank, we passed this wording: we oppose the development of Oregon coastal regions for the export of fossil fuels. And then the LAI that we passed was recognize the adverse impacts of exporting fossil fuels, including LNG, on climate change, property rights, fishing, tourism, and domestic natural gas prices. Fully utilize Oregon's environmental, land use, and safety laws to prevent construction of terminals and pipelines such as the proposed Jordan Cove Terminal and the Pacific Connector Pipeline. So you can imagine this is the one that caused the most excitement. And so the one that we are adding, so a third one this year, we want to repeal the 2011 House Bill 2700, which is the piece of legislation that allowed the corporations building the overland pipelines to use eminent domain for condemning the land. And it's worded so that it's not called eminent domain, but for all intents and purposes, it's eminent domain. And we want the legislature to repeal that. So it goes back to the process that they would have had to follow before they passed this bill. So worst case scenario, someone gets a hold of this and they convince the platform and resolutions committee to deep six this. What they did last time was that they had two piles of submissions. They had the ones that they knew would be generally acceptable and not ruffle any feathers, and they were the ones that were published. We knew about the other ones because we had submitted them, and someone within the DPO tried to deep six them. We had to pull them off of a secondary list that was not published and get them back for consideration during the breakout sessions on Saturday. And I believe the plank was the one that we submitted through the signature process. So we have another one that we're supporting as well, and John Ellis is one of the supporters who's on the line. So this is about using the internet to to help people understand and get familiar with people running for office. So it reads, we support using engagement broadcast distributed production environment media hubs as a way to facilitate conversations between elected officials and the constituents they serve about the critical issues of our time. So that's all I was going to review tonight. If anyone has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them now.
I think I'm good. I think it'll be interesting to see how this all goes down. So Friday night, though, I think you guys said it at the Democrat meeting that it's not essential to be there Friday night, right? Because I'm probably going to be driving. I can't take a lot of time off of work, so I will drive down as soon as I get off. I'm going to try to leave my office by 4. So I probably won't get to Salem, though, until about 7. How long does it go on Friday night?
Probably go on for an hour, hour and a half. And yes, if we wanted to contest the officers of the convention, we would want everyone to be there. But no one has made any movement to organize that, and so I don't think there's going to be any need to be there on Friday night. I'm going to be there just so I can monitor the actions and make sure that nothing that violates parliamentary procedure is tried to pull on us.
Okay. Well, I think I'm good in terms of all my questions, so I'm good for now.
Me too.
Okay. So Doug and then Jan.
Oh, I actually, sorry, it's Tiffany again. I actually do have a question. So I was looking at the DPO website and the registration fees. So because I'm a first-time delegate, it's